talking about. It's about as funny as Gilligan's Island. They keep making fun of us. I think they thought it was the most ridiculous thing they'd ever heard. First time in history that they ever have and we went right to top 10 in the ratings.
What if the actress you thought you knew wasn't who she was? To millions of Americans, Dawn Wells was the sweet Mary Ann. But behind the scenes, Dawn hid a shocking secret that could have destroyed her career and reputation. This wasn't just a rumor. It stayed hidden for decades. Fans, co-stars, and even the producers had no clue. Now, after all these years, the truth Dawn Wells kept secret is finally coming to light. And once you hear it, you'll never see Gilligan's Island the same way again. The show that made America laugh. Some shows come and go, but a few stick with us forever. Gilligan's Island wasn't just a TV show. It became a cultural phenomenon. For 3 seasons, it made people laugh and reminded them that even when life feels like a shipwreck, there's always room for hope and fun.
By a woodpecker.
Every episode was full of moments that made viewers feel like they were right there on the island, sharing the castaways' struggles, jokes, and little victories. If you grew up watching Gilligan's Island, then you definitely know Dawn Wells. She played Mary Ann Summers, the sweet farm girl with a bright smile and a kind heart, stranded on an island with 6 other castaways. There was something about her that just drew people in. Maybe it was her warmth or the way she made even the smallest moments feel real and relatable. Whatever it was, viewers connected with her instantly. And for many, the island simply wouldn't have felt the same without Mary Ann. Now, Gilligan's Island tells the story of 7 people who set out for what was supposed to be a simple 3-hour boat tour. But everything changed when a storm rolled in. Their boat was thrown around by heavy waves until they ended up stranded on a deserted island and cut off from the rest of the world. Many expected the show to focus on survival, but instead, it turned out to be surprisingly funny and heartwarming. The castaways didn't always see eye to eye, but their clashing personalities created the very magic that made the island unforgettable. What began as a tale of survival turned into one of television's most endearing adventures, built on friendship, humor, and the unshakable human instinct to make the best of even the toughest situations. When Gilligan's Island first aired in 1964, the United States was going through a lot of change. The civil rights movement was growing, and the Vietnam War was starting to divide the nation. People were overwhelmed and needed a break from all the chaos. That's why the show felt like the perfect escape. It was simple, funny, and lighthearted, something the whole family could enjoy. In a world filled with headlines about war and protest, Mary Ann's kindness felt like a reminder that goodness still existed. And for half an hour, the show brings people to sit together, laugh, and forget about the worries of the real world. Unfortunately, Gilligan's Island came to an end in 1967. With only 98 episodes and 3 short seasons, it felt like the castaways were taken away too soon. But interestingly, the show never really went away because reruns brought the show back to life for a new generation of viewers. Even families who had once watched it together found themselves tuning in again, and new viewers who hadn't even been born during its original run were discovering it for the first time. One generation after another kept falling in love with those same 7 stranded souls. It was as if the island never stopped calling people back. Meanwhile, life on set was not as perfect as it seemed. Behind Dawn's cheerful smile was a story many people never knew. While the show showed her laughing and full of life, there were things she kept hidden, even from her closest co-stars. To the audience, she was the warm and gentle heart of the island. But away from the spotlight, Dawn was dealing with personal struggles that told a very different story. However, Dawn's ability to balance the bright, carefree Mary Ann with her own real-life struggles is what made her truly remarkable. She wasn't just acting for the camera, she was navigating a complicated life behind the scenes, one that demanded strength, resilience, and grace. It's easy to forget that the characters we love on TV are played by real people, each with their own fears, challenges, and secrets. Dawn Wells' story shows us that the joy and magic we see on screen often hide the struggles actors face behind the scenes. Beneath the innocent farm girl's smile hid a truth powerful enough to change everything people believed about Dawn. Off camera, she shed Marianne's image and became someone entirely different, a woman with secrets that would one day shock the world. But before we uncover what Dawn was truly hiding, and why, we need to return to where it all began. Back to the days before fame, before the island, before the world ever knew her name. So, let's step away from the palm trees and laughter and meet the young woman behind that radiant smile and those signature braids. Because once you discover where Dawn Wells came from, you'll realize life on that island was never as simple as it seemed. Early life and career, the girl who almost took a different path. Before Dawn Wells became the sweet island girl everyone fell in love with, she was just a small-town girl from Reno, Nevada. She was born on October 28, 1938, and honestly, no one could have guessed how far her dreams would take her. Her dad ran a local shipping company, and her mom stayed home to take care of the family. But even as a little girl, people could see something special in Dawn. She had this daring confidence and bold energy that made everyone know she was destined for something greater. Growing up, Dawn loved horseback riding, gardening, and joining school activities. She wasn't just an ordinary student. She even took on roles like class president and helped organize events, showing she was confident, responsible, and full of energy even as a kid. Interestingly, acting wasn't her first dream. Dawn originally wanted to become a doctor. She loved science and studied chemistry at Stevens College, imagining a future in medicine. But life had other plans for her. During her time in college, she realized that the stage, not the laboratory, was where she truly belonged. Her interest in theater grew, and she later transferred to the University of Washington. There, she majored in theater arts and fully embraced her passion by diving into acting, stage design, and everything theater. And by the time she graduated with a degree in theater arts and design, Dawn had already begun shaping the foundation for a career that would someday make her a household name. Before Hollywood came calling, Dawn discovered that beauty pageants could be more than just a crown. They were a way to build confidence, poise, and visibility. So after graduation, she entered local competitions, learning how to present herself with charm and elegance. In 1959, her efforts paid off when she was crowned Miss Nevada. To Dawn, the title was more than a trophy. It was a ticket to bigger opportunities. She didn't stop there. She competed in the Miss America pageant, standing alongside contestants from all over the country. Even though she didn't win, the experience gave her exposure and literally changed everything for her. Before long, casting directors began to take notice of her. She started with small roles in movies and commercials, slowly making a name for herself in Hollywood. She made it clear that she was more than just a pretty face. Her natural charm and the way she connected with audiences made her impossible to ignore. Whether it was a short commercial or a minor TV role, people could see her light up the screen effortlessly, and that presence opened doors for bigger opportunities. However, her major breakthrough came in 1964, when she auditioned for a new television series called Gilligan's Island, and quickly impressed the producers with her charm, relatability, and unmistakable sweetness. She won the role of Marianne Summers, a sweet, friendly girl from the heartland. And the rest, as they say, is history. Marianne wasn't just a character on TV. She had this warmth and down-to-earth charm that made people feel like they actually knew her. Almost right away, fans started writing letters to Dawn, telling her how much they loved Marianne. She became that girl next door everyone wanted to be friends with. the one who felt real, friendly, and impossible not to like. Gilligan's Island only lasted 3 seasons, but that was just the beginning. Thanks to reruns, Marianne kept finding new fans, and she became a cultural icon almost overnight. Everywhere she went, people recognized her, stopping her to share how much Marianne had meant to them. It wasn't just a TV role, it grew into a cultural phenomenon, one that connected generations and made Dawn's name shine long after the lights faded and the cameras stopped rolling. Even after Gilligan's Island made her a household name, Dawn didn't stop growing as an actor. She took on new roles, appeared in commercials and talk shows, and even did voiceover work, showing audiences there was much more to her than just Marianne. She poured her heart into every scene, working hard to deliver her lines just right. Her dedication earned the respect of her co-stars and the admiration of the crew. By the time Gilligan's Island became a household name, she had grown from a small-town girl with big dreams into one of America's most loved television faces. And even with all that fame, she stayed humble, kind, and as resilient as she had always been. And even though the cameras captured laughter and bright smiles, life on set wasn't always easy. The cast worked long, tiring hours, and the shoots could be exhausting. Behind the cheerful scenes, there are tensions and disagreements sometimes, and the beautiful island we saw on TV wasn't always as perfect once the cameras stopped rolling. What if what viewers saw on screen each week was only half the story? Behind the laughter, the island hid secrets, rivalries, and struggles that the cameras never caught. The untold story of life on Gilligan's Island. For a long time, people only saw the great chemistry the cast had on screen, but behind the scenes, life on set was far more complicated. Long hours and exhausting shoots tested the cast, and tensions silently simmered that viewers never got to see. What looked like fun and laughter on TV often hid stress, disagreements, and challenges that shaped the real story of Gilligan's Island. Filming a TV show might seem fun, but the reality was far from easy. The cast often spent 12 or more hours a day under hot, sticky studio lights, making the island set feel anything but relaxing. They had to memorize lines and keep their energy up even when exhausted. Between takes came long waits and endless adjustments, and after days like that, even the smallest disagreements could easily turn into real tension. Also, some of the cast were experienced actors used to the spotlight, while others, like Dawn Wells, were still finding their place in Hollywood. This difference in experience sometimes caused friction. Different work styles, approaches to scenes, and expectations of professionalism created small conflicts that quietly built stress on set. Dawn brought kindness and dedication, but navigating these differences added another layer of challenge to her work. However, one of the most talked about tensions on set was the Ginger versus Mary Ann debate. Tina Louise, who played the glamorous Ginger, was often promoted as the star of the show. She had the movie star looks and was expected to be the face of the series. But Dawn Wells, as Mary Ann, quietly became a fan favorite. Viewers sent her letters, and her down-to-earth charm captured the hearts of many. Because of this constant comparison, there were reports that Tina didn't always like that Mary Ann was getting so much attention, creating subtle but noticeable tension between the two actresses. Even after the show ended, Tina deliberately distanced herself from Gilligan's Island, turning down reunion specials and interviews, further fueling speculation that she was dissatisfied with the series. However, Dawn handled the situation with grace. She never encouraged the rivalry and stayed focused on her character. In interviews, she often downplayed any conflict, noting that they were never enemies and simply didn't have much in common. Still, the contrast was impossible to ignore. Ginger received the glamorous press and marketing, while Mary Ann silently won the hearts of viewers week after week. Imagine being loved by millions, constantly compared to a co-star, and wondering if your work would ever be recognized beyond the character everyone saw on screen. It was overwhelming for Dawn. But the tension didn't stop with comparisons. Money was another source of stress on set. While Gilligan's Island became a cultural phenomenon, the cast earned modest salaries and didn't receive the big rerun residuals people assume they did today. Most of the profits went straight to the producers and the network. For Dawn and her co-stars, it was a frustrating reality. They poured their energy, laughter, and heart into every episode for millions of viewers. But the paychecks didn't reflect the show's huge success. Also, Sherwood Schwartz, the show's creator, wanted the series to be simple, fun, and family-friendly. But some cast members wanted more for their characters. They hoped for bigger storylines and moments that felt real. This difference in vision added another layer of stress. On top of long hours and budget struggles, creative disagreements quietly fueled tension behind the scenes. There are also reports that crew and producers sometimes treated cast members differently based on popularity, perceived importance, or personal connections. Little slights or favoritism might have gone unnoticed by viewers, but they created real stress on set. Dawn, however, reportedly stayed professional and kind, keeping her focus on the work even when she felt overlooked or undervalued. However, friendships helped ease some of the tension on set. Dawn got along especially well with Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, and Alan Hale Jr., the skipper. They joked around, helped each other with lines, and leaned on one another during long, exhausting shoots. These connections kept spirits up, but they couldn't completely erase the frustrations, rivalries, and insecurities simmering just beneath the surface. Still, most of the tension never reached the public. Fans only saw laughter, friendship, and perfectly timed jokes. They didn't see the long hours, the comparisons, or the private struggles. For Dawn, playing Mary Ann meant making millions of people happy, while quietly handling her own worries, small rivalries, and stress the world never saw. The tension on set added a hidden layer to the show's charm, because even when things weren't perfect, the cast still made the magic happen. Dawn Wells became more than just Mary Ann. She proved herself as a resilient, dedicated actress who balanced fame, rivalries, and personal challenges with grace. When the show ended, the cast went their separate ways, but the memories stayed with them. The laughter, friendships, and disagreements all became part of a story fans never got to see. Years later, Dawn would reflect that despite the ups and downs, she was proud of what they had created. Gilligan's Island wasn't just a sitcom, it made history. While everyone thought she was living her dream life as America's sweetheart, Dawn's real life wasn't always that simple. And despite the fame and her bright smile, she faced many challenges and kept secrets on the set of Gilligan's Island that many never imagined. What really happened while Dawn was filming this show? The hidden secret she kept while filming Gilligan's Island. To many, Dawn Wells' life seemed perfect. She was living the dream everyone envied, the very image of America's sweetheart. But things were different behind the scenes of Gilligan's Island. Life wasn't always easy. Fans loved Mary Ann, but often Dawn felt they didn't see her, only the character. Yes, the role made her famous, but it also boxed her in, creating an image she couldn't easily escape. This pressure stayed with her long after filming ended. She later admitted that it often felt like the world loved Mary Ann more than it loved Dawn Wells. This was a silent pain that stayed with her, being seen but not truly recognized, adored but never fully appreciated for who she really was. Fans wanted the sweet, wholesome girl from the island, and Dawn had to hide the strain while keeping up her charm. But here's where things get really interesting. While filming Gilligan's Island, Dawn lit up screens as Mary Ann, but few knew she was secretly married. She had to keep it hidden from the cast, the crew, and millions of adoring fans to protect her career. Back then, Hollywood could be ruthless, and married actresses were often seen as less desirable for leading roles. The pressure to hide her marriage weighed on her every day, making her life off-screen far more complicated than it appeared. Imagine smiling every single day, playing the girl next door everyone adored, while hiding a part of your life so personal it could change everything. The pressure was constant, and the fear of being discovered never went away. Dawn wasn't just acting. She was living a double life, balancing fame, fans' expectations, and a secret marriage that no one could know about. Now, in 1962, Dawn married Larry Rosen. Luckily, in the 1960s, there was no social media or relentless paparazzi, so actors could keep their personal lives under wraps a little more easily. But maintaining that secrecy came at a price. Dawn had to hide her husband from the press, take off her wedding ring on set and during interviews, and avoid even the slightest hint of having a life beyond the cameras. Every smile and every scene had to stay carefully on script. And as she became more famous, the show demanded more of her time, and the pressures of Hollywood became relentless. Juggling a secret marriage alongside a skyrocketing career quickly became nearly impossible. Over time, the distance and strain took their toll, and in 1967, her marriage quietly ended in divorce, completely out of the public eye. Handling all of this was exhausting and overwhelming, yet Dawn managed it with grace, keeping her private struggles hidden behind her broad and cheerful smile. Then there was the loneliness that came with fame. Between long hours on set and the constant expectations of fans, Dawn often felt isolated. She spent her days acting, performing, and making people laugh. But behind closed doors, she wrestled with insecurity and anxiety about her career and her life beyond the island. Being Mary Ann brought joy to millions, yet it also created a gap between who she really was and the character the world adored. These were secrets she kept for the longest time. No one really knew how deeply she struggled. Once the cameras started rolling, she had to slip into the bright, cheerful persona everyone expected, hiding her doubts and fears behind the jokes and cheerful smiles. But despite all the challenges, Dawn Wells managed to stay strong. She was always warm, approachable, and professional, the kind of co-star everyone could rely on. On set, she became the glue that held the cast together, joking with them, helping out, and keeping spirits up during long, exhausting shoots. But what was life really like for Dawn after the show ended? How did she navigate fame, challenges, and opportunities to show there was so much more to her than Mary Ann? Life after Gilligan's Island. When Gilligan's Island ended in 1967, many expected Dawn Wells to fade quietly from the spotlight. After all, Mary Ann was the role everyone remembered, and Hollywood had a way of typecasting actors. But Dawn was never one to back down. She refused to let a single character define her life. Instead, she embraced her fame, worked tirelessly, and set out to prove there was so much more to her than just Mary Ann. Over the years, Dawn appeared in more than 150 television shows, countless commercials, and a wide variety of stage productions across the country. From westerns to dramas, comedies to heartfelt character roles, her work showed her range and dedication. She didn't rely on nostalgia. She wanted audiences to see the real Dawn Wells, the actor who had worked tirelessly to earn her place in Hollywood. Even when the roles weren't glamorous, she brought energy, precision, and warmth to every performance. Even as she moved on with her career, Dawn didn't shy away from Mary Ann. She returned to the character in reunion specials and even voiced her in the animated spin-off. Years later, fans still loved Mary Ann, and Dawn made sure the character stayed true to herself. She treated Mary Ann with care, keeping her sweet, warm, and timeless, while also showing the world that there was so much more to Dawn Wells than just the girl from the island. But Dawn didn't stop at acting. She became an author, publishing What Would Marianne Do? A Guide to Life, a book that blended personal stories with life lessons. It wasn't a memoir in the traditional sense. Instead, it reflected on and celebrated the values that made Marianne so loved by fans. Her storytelling offered fans an intimate look at the woman behind the character, and it showcased her humor, intelligence, and perspective on life. Readers were charmed not only by her stories from Hollywood, but also by the way she used her experiences to encourage others, proving that her warmth extended far beyond the screen. In addition to writing and acting, Dawn also dedicated herself to mentoring. She founded a film actors boot camp designed to help aspiring performers transition into professional roles. Through this, she shared practical guidance, offered encouragement, and gave young actors a safe space to grow. Her work went beyond just teaching skills. Dawn understood what it was like to be known for only one thing, and she wanted to help others show the world all the sides of themselves. Beyond acting, she also supported causes related to education, animal welfare, and women in entertainment, quietly using her fame to give back. But sadly, even with a long and successful career, Dawn faced financial struggles later in life. Fame and decades in the industry didn't shield her from real challenges, like medical bills and housing difficulties. It was a reminder that Hollywood doesn't always reward talent or loyalty, and even someone loved by millions can face hardships the public never sees. Still, Dawn handled these challenges with grace. She never let them overshadow the joy she shared with fans or the warmth she brought to every interaction. Even with everything she faced, Dawn stayed warm and approachable. She never held any resentment toward Marianne or the way the show shaped her career. She welcomed fans with a smile, shared jokes, and genuinely connected with anyone who came her way. In interviews and at public events, she showed that her life was richer and more complex than what people saw on screen. Dawn was more than America's sweetheart. She was a hard-working woman who kept growing, reinventing herself, and honoring the role that had made her famous. By the time her career came to a close, Dawn Wells had built a legacy that went far beyond Marianne. She proved she could do it all, taking on a wide range of roles, supporting young actors, and carrying herself with a professionalism and kindness that few could match. She showed the world that even when a single role defines you, it doesn't have to hold you back. For everyone who grew up watching her, she became a lasting example of how hard work, warmth, and staying true to yourself can shape a life just as much as any character on screen. Final years and legacy of Dawn Wells. After many years, Dawn Wells never lost touch with the fans who had adored her for decades. She kept attending fan conventions and granting interviews, always with the same warmth and charm that made her Marianne. Unlike some actors who retreat from the spotlight, she welcomed it, sharing stories, connecting with people, and celebrating the role that had made her famous. However, even with all the charm and adoration, Dawn's later years were not without challenges. She faced health issues and the wear of a long career. Yet through it all, she handled everything with grace and determination. Looking back, it's easy to see how her early life prepared her for this journey. The confidence she gained from pageants, her leadership experience in school, and her dedication to theater all converged to shape her into the actress who could step into Marianne's shoes and make her unforgettable. Hollywood may have typecast some actors, but Dawn's ability to combine professionalism, warmth, and authenticity allowed her to leave an enduring mark. Unfortunately, Dawn Wells passed away in December 2020 at the age of 82 from complications related to COVID-19. Fans and co-stars quickly flooded social media, sharing stories and memories of the woman behind Marianne. The headlines called her America's sweetheart, but those who knew her personally spoke about her kindness, her humor, and her professionalism. Her death was more than the end of a career. It was a reminder of just how much joy, warmth, and charm she had brought into the world. Dawn Wells's life was a story of resilience, reinvention, and strength. She faced the pressures of Hollywood, personal struggles, and the weight of fame. Yet she stayed true to herself and treated others with kindness. Her journey shows that a legacy isn't only about famous roles or the spotlight. It's about the way you live, the work you leave behind, and the joy you share with those around you. Dawn didn't just play Marianne. She became a reminder of what grace, humor, and heart can leave behind for generations. Now, as this video comes to an end, one question should stay with us. What would you do if the world loved your character more than you? And if you were in Dawn's shoes, could you hide your life to chase your dreams and still stay true to yourself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you enjoyed this video, click on the next video on your screen.